Vladimir Putin decided not to fly to the summit with Trump in Budapest, since Europe has already openly stated that if a plane with the Russian dictator appears in their airspace, it will be forced to land and Putin himself will be arrested and sent to trial in The Hague. Today, Warsaw warned Russian President Vladimir Putin against flying through Polish airspace on his way to meet with United States President Donald Trump in Budapest. They pointed out the potential need to execute the international arrest warrant in such a case. At the same time, European leaders and Volodymyr Zelensky released a joint statement the day before, insisting on the need to ensure Ukraine has the strongest possible position before, during and after. As they believe Vladimir Putin will not end the war, pressure on Russia must increase, and the current Ukrainian-Russian army contact line should serve as the starting point for peace talks. In this regard, the Kremlin has started to stall and is already delaying the timing of the talks between Trump and Putin, hinting that maybe the meeting should be moved from Budapest to some other corner of the world. And today it became known that 26 out of 27 countries of the European Union have committed to participating in the Special Tribunal for the crime of aggression by Russia against Ukraine. But which country opposed it? I think you can guess for yourself. My name is Alexei Peichi. Today is October 21st on the calendar. Let's discuss this topic together. Before we begin, please subscribe to this channel, like the video, comment below, and join my Telegram channel Peichi News via the link in the description. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. It says there, support Alexei Peichi's channel. Choose any format that's convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support you can give. So, if Vladimir Putin flies to a meeting with United States President Donald Trump in Hungary and his plane enters Polish airspace, his plane will be forced to land, and the Russian president himself will be arrested under the warrant of the International Criminal Court. Such a bold statement was made by the head of the Polish Foreign Ministry, Radosław Sikorski. Here is his quote. "We cannot guarantee that an independent court will not require the government to stop such a plane in order to deliver the suspect to the court in The Hague. The Russian side knows this, so Putin's plane will take a different route. It's telling that the Bulgarian authorities have already hinted that they are ready to provide an air corridor for the plane carrying the Russian dictator to fly to Europe. But in that case, Putin will have to fly over the Black Sea. And in that case, I think all Ukrainians will just cross their fingers, hoping that Ukraine's long-range weapons can reach the plane carrying Vladimir Putin. That's why the Kremlin will look for even more roundabout routes. But that's where the Kremlin's panic comes in. They've already started talking about holding the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, for example, in Dubai. Since in Moscow they've already come up with a version that as soon as British intelligence found out that the meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin would take place in Budapest, they immediately sent their agents there to eliminate Vladimir Putin during the summit. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin agreed during an October 16 phone call to meet in Budapest, Hungary's capital. Later, Belarus leader Glava Doma said the summit might happen within 2 weeks. Hungary assured that on its territory, the Russian president would not face arrest under the warrant of the International Criminal Court. As stated by the head of the Hungarian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Peter Szijjártó, quote, "We will welcome Vladimir Putin here and make sure that he has successful negotiations and then returns home." At the same time, Szijjártó emphasized that Budapest is not going to consult with its allies regarding Putin's visit, since Hungary is a sovereign country. And after that, the head of the Bulgarian Foreign Ministry, Georg Georgiev, made it clear that Bulgaria is ready to allow the Russian president to fly over its territory for a meeting with Donald Trump. But here I want to especially emphasize how powerless many international organizations turned out to be, including the courts. Hungary and Bulgaria are members of the International Criminal Court. Meanwhile, Budapest applied to withdraw from the court's jurisdiction in summer 2025. However, the decision will only take effect in a year. Despite this year the country's authorities have already hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who also had a warrant issued by the Hague court. As a participant in the international agreement, Bulgaria is required to detain the Russian president on its territory, but it is not obligated to force his plane to land. In short, the International Criminal Court kind of exists, but at the same time it kind of doesn't. Even though this very International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Putin in 2023 for a number of international crimes, including the deportation and abduction of Ukrainian children from the occupied territories of Ukraine. An arrest warrant was also issued for the Russian children's ombudsman Maria Lvovskaya. Putin visited Mongolia in September 2024, and in October 2025, he visited Tajikistan. Both countries are parties to the International Criminal Court, yet did not detain the Russian Federation's president. In the European Union, Ulaanbaatar and Dushanbe were criticized for not arresting Putin. But that's where the story ended, but there are other tools as well. European leaders and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky issued a joint statement the previous day, stressing the need to secure Ukraine's strongest possible position, before, during and after a ceasefire. Since, in their opinion, Vladimir Putin does not intend to stop the war, it is necessary to increase pressure on Russia. And the starting point for negotiations on a peaceful settlement should be the current line of contact between the Ukrainian and Russian armies. The joint statement was signed by the leaders of Ukraine, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Poland, Norway, Finland, Denmark, as well as the presidents of the European Commission and the European Council. They supported President Donald Trump's position that the fighting should be stopped immediately. Their proposal to start negotiations by freezing military actions along the current front line is in line with Zelensky's position. At the same time, Zelensky categorically refused to meet Putin halfway and give him all of Donbass. Trump voiced such a demand from the Kremlin dictator who started the war during his meeting with the Ukrainian president. At the same time, compared to his position expressed during the August summit in Alaska, Putin supposedly made a concession. He suggested paying attention to giving Ukraine small areas in the occupied Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, giving Ukraine what already belongs to it anyway. European leaders stand in solidarity with Zelensky. We remain committed to the principle that international borders cannot be changed by force. How does such a position align with the real situation in which Ukraine currently has no way to liberate the occupied territories? The previous day, European diplomacy leader and former Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas explained. One question is what can be regained. Another is what is acknowledged as another country's territory. I'm from a country that was occupied for 50 years, but most countries in the world did not recognize it as Russian territory, and that meant a lot too. If you just give up your territory, it sends a signal to everyone that you can use force against your neighbors and get what you want. Well, that's pretty interesting. The proposal was made to them by the French Foreign Minister, Jean-Noël Barrot. He suggested that Russia's agreement to a ceasefire should be a condition for allowing Putin's plane to enter Hungary. Here is his quote: "The presence of Vladimir Putin on the territory of the European Union only makes sense if it ensures an immediate and unconditional ceasefire." And in the end, the European Union stated, quote, "We are developing measures to use all frozen sovereign assets of Russia so that Ukraine receives the funds it needs. European Union countries have preliminarily agreed to use 140 billion euros of Russian reserves to provide Ukraine with a reparations loan." I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.